This content is brought to you by BEC Financial Technologies, developing and operating IT for Danish banks.
He's here to tell us why Vitest and Playwright crushed the old guard of test automation. Please warmly welcome Arkadiusz. Big applause.
All right. Thank you for having me. I didn't expect that there would be so much people here, and it is very nice. And today I'm going to tell you something about Playwright and Vitest, and I'd like to say something about why Vitest and Playwright crash the old guard of test automation. How can we use these tools to test automation, and how we should know all of these tools right now. A few words about myself. I work as a senior test automation engineer at Thunderbird. I also run a podcast, Testing Station, maybe you would know about it. And from 2023, I began my career as a conference speaker. So we met, I think, with many of you on the testing conferences. But at the beginning, I would like to invite you to a little game about true or false, and I will show you 3 statements about myself. One of them is false, and 2 of them are true. And the first statement is I spent 1 semester in Portugal on the Erasmus Plus program. The second one is I skydived in Australia over the Great Barrier Reef. And the third one is I proposed in Rome. So, 5 seconds for thinking, and we can vote. So please raise your hand if you think that the first statement is false. Okay. Who think that the second statement is false? Okay, and the third one? And who didn't raise your hand? The most ones. Okay, so the first statement is not true. It's false. I didn't in Portugal. And I skydived in Australia 2 years ago. It was nice, very nice experience. And I proposed in Rome. And this is a real picture with my wife. Thank you so much. And, okay, warning, it's my first a presentation in English, so I have to ask you about some understanding about my English, but I think maybe it would be good. And first, let's begin. I'd like to say something about front-end and back-end tests at the beginning, because all of you, I think, know that we have some front-end part of the application and back-end part. And when we think about the tests, we are thinking about testing pyramid, for example, yeah? It doesn't matter that this is the pyramid or the other shape, but it's important to know that we have different types of levels of tests, yeah? I think all of you know that we have something like unit tests, some integration tests, like component tests or API tests, and we have UI tests, yeah? But it's not the same on the front-end part and the back-end part, yeah? Because it's not the same. And for example, how to compare the unit tests on the front end when we have some components, yeah, like for example in React, Angular, and other frameworks, like for example button. Yeah, we have a small component like button, and we can test that, for example, when I click on it, I can expect some action. But on the backend side, we don't have any components. Yeah, for example, integration tests on the front end part. We have components, and for example, I click on the button, fill the form, and click submit button. Yeah, it's an integration test on the front end. But on the backend side, we don't have any UI, yeah, and user interface. So for example, there are API tests to test integration. So this is the completely different words, yeah. End-to-end testing, the most popular one. End-to-end testing on the front-end part is clicking on the browser, yeah, like a normal user. But on the backend side, we don't have any browser, yeah. So when someone asks you about do you have testing pyramid in your company? You have to ask, but where? On the front end or on the back end? Because it could be totally different. For example, on the back end side, we can have the pyramid, yeah, the shape like a pyramid, unit tests. The most tests are the unit tests, then integration tests and UI tests. Yeah? But on the front end, it could be, for example, the shape like a trophy or something like that. A lot of unit tests, yeah, but the most integration tests and a smaller number of end-to-end tests. And it's very important because I think a lot of people don't know about it, yeah. And this funny meme that, for example, show that we should test on the different levels, yeah. And for example, when our unit test passes, but our integration test couldn't because, for example, we don't have an integration. As you can see, the handle is working correctly. Yeah, you press the button and it's working. The cover part is working as well because it's opened. Yeah, it's okay. But the integration of these two elements, it's not working correctly, and this is not what our user expects. Yeah? So when we sell this umbrella to someone, we give it back because, of course, it doesn't work. And what is Playwright for those people who don't know? And in the nutshell, open source framework developed by Microsoft, and it's very important information because it's a big company, created in 2020. So it's over 5 years on the market. Written in TypeScript, based on Chrome DevTools protocol, it's also very important. And support cross languages like JavaScript, TypeScript, Python, Java, .NET, and cross-browser supporting is for Chrome, Edge, Safari, and Firefox. And someone who used this tool knows that we can use it to many different types of our testing pyramid. Yeah, and this is a typical Playwright test. Yeah, we have some import, test, expect from Playwright test. Playwright test is our test runner. It's important information, it's crucial, and I will say more about it in the future. And we have some tests, yeah, for example, page, go to some page, some website, and then we have, for example, check that the title is example domain, yeah. On the bottom part, for example, we can do some mocks, yeah, and we can mock backend and check that some front-end part is working correctly. And as you can see on the top, we can see the end-to-end test, yeah, because we open browser, open the website, and check the title. Yeah, it could be the end-to-end test because it's a real browser. But at the bottom example, we see that we mocked backend. But when we mock backend, it's not end-to-end test because it's not the test that our real user clicking. So it's an integration test. So it's very important to understand when we can say something about, for example, integration tests and end-to-end tests. And what is Vitest in that case? It's also an open source framework funded by Vitest team. It's created in 2021 for TypeScript testing. It's very important because it's created for TypeScript testing, and it's the biggest challenger like Jest was created in 2011, and it was created for JavaScript testing because TypeScript was created in 2012. Yeah? And it's also written in TypeScript and built to support ECMAScript modules and TypeScript out of the box. And it's faster than Jest because it doesn't contain any legacy like Jest, for example, for now. And there is a tip that uses chai under the hood for assertions. And as you can see, on the screen there are two examples of Vitest tests, and we have very similar syntax like describe, it, or test, and expect. And we have some math operations, and we can expect that the result would be to be 5. Yeah, and it is a synchronous test. And at the bottom example, we have some asynchronous test to fetch some information from the API, and then we have expect that ID is equals to 1. So this is a typical Vitest test. As you can see, there is no any browser. Yeah, we don't need any browser in that level because it's not on that end-to-end level tests. Yeah, and why Vitest plus Playwright are shaking up the world of test automation? First of all, it's lack of legacy. As I mentioned before, Playwright was created in 2020 and Vitest in 2021. So it's just quite young tools, but not the newest one. Yeah? And a bit of history, maybe you know that, for example, we have tools like Cypress, TestCafe, Puppeteer, and I don't mention about Selenium because, you know, Selenium was created in 2004, so it's over 20 years. But Playwright is, for now, I think, the youngest one, but it contains a lot of nice features. And in this lower level of testing, when we have some unit tests, integration tests as well, we have our Vitest, which I said before, and the other challengers like Jest, Mocha, and Chai are created 14 years ago. Yeah, so it's a lot of time. And you know, when you are working in IT, you know that 5 years is a very enormous time when you are spending in the IT, but it's 14 years. So there is no legacy code in Vitest, and it's very, very fast for it. Yeah? And we have all-in-one frameworks, and this is the second observation from my side, that both of them are all-in-one frameworks. And what does it mean? And how typical testing framework is built? It's nice to know, because we are talking about assertion library, test runners, frameworks, you know, all-in-one frameworks, and so on and so forth. And when we would like to say something about all-in-one framework, there should be just two things. Test runner, because we have to run our tests, and we have assertion library, yeah? Because assertions is a clue, yeah, the key part of our test, because when we just clicking on the page, it's useless. Yeah, we have to check that our clicking has a result. Yeah, expected, and there should be some some features like mocking, snapshot testing as well is good. Coverage report, it would be expected to have CLI and parallel execution. Yeah, but just these two first points, it's crucial. Yeah, it's necessary. Test runner and assertion library. And which is which in this world of frameworks. For example, Chai is just an assertion library. When someone tell you that I'm writing tests in Chai, it's not true, because Chai is just assertion library. It's not a framework. Yeah? And Mocha as well. Mocha is just a test runner. It's not an all-in-one framework. But other ones are all-in-one. So if you think about it, it's nice to know that we have this these divisions, yeah, to other parts. And in the end-to-end testing frameworks, we have some types like conventional and non-conventional tools. Maybe you've heard something about WebDriver IO, Nightwatch, of course, Selenium, which are based on the WebDriver protocol. And we have non-conventional tool, and this division is based on the Daniel Broman presentation from the conference, and I agree with him about that division. And he divided these tools to conventional and non-conventional. And as you can see, Playwright is in the non-conventional based on CDP like other tools. Cypress is the separate area because it is based on native scripting, and it uses our browser which we installed on our operating system. Yeah, and for Firefox, it uses WebDriver BiDi protocol, which is quite new. And I think this connection is a banger. It's a game changer a bit in the test automation. Yeah, it's a very technical presentation, but I'd like to say it in simple words. Yeah, that for example, Vitest plus Playwright, it's a banger like as a connection, because we can use only those two tools which are very similar in syntax, and we don't have to use tools like Cypress, Jest, Mocha, Chai, Selenium, other etc. Because when we use these two tools, we can cover all of our testing pyramid, like unit tests by using Vitest, Playwright or Vitest when you would like to cover some API tests, component tests, integration tests, and end-to-end tests. Of course, it's a Playwright, because when we install Playwright, there are some binaries related to our browsers, like Safari, like Firefox, like Google Chrome, of course. And What is crucial when we are using these two tools to automate, it's nice to, when we are in the project, that we can decide what we would like to use. Of course, I think a lot of you are working in the companies that there are other tools and we cannot change it. Yeah, of course. But when we have some greenfield and we have power to decide which tools we should use, we can think about these two tools or other ones. And what about same test structures? Yeah, as I said, we have very similar syntax. We have some import, test, describe, before each, before all, after each, expect. Yeah, and when we know the syntax from the, for example, Playwright, we can use it in Vitest as well. Yeah, it's very, very simple. But in Playwright, we use browser to going through the website, but in the Vitest, we're just testing some methods, you know, some API, for example, and so on and so forth. Similar config file is nice because Vitest is a younger tool, and it started to copy some solutions from Playwright to Vitest. Yeah, and for example, when we using Vitest, we can see that there is a lot of things from Playwright. For example, config. It's very similar. We can use timeout, expect, retries, workers. We can use almost the same config in both tools, but just a bit different syntax. And for example, there is a project concept in Playwright that we can divide our tests or put the test in different configuration in our Playwright config file. And for Vitest, this solution is also available. Yeah, we can divide our tests, our repository into projects, and it's a very nice concept. And Vitest started to use it as well. And in both tools, we can run our tests in parallelism and use workers. Like we can run our tests, for example, on 2 workers, which means that we run our test in parallel. Yeah, and we can run our test in fully parallel mode. That we can, all of the tests are running in parallel. Or in Vitest, as you can see, we can use threads, but it's very similar. For example, min threads is 1, of course, because it should be at least 1. And max threads is 2 or 4, it depends on the environment. Yeah, and it's nice because we know this concept from the one of the tool, and we can copy this feature to the another one. And I have 3 tips for you when you write some tests, automation tests, of course, using Playwright or Vitest or other tools, of course, because there is in the situation that, for example, when we are in the project and we running our tests, API tests, of course, or end-to-end tests, we are doing some requests to our real environment. Yeah, and it's important that to separate this traffic from the other traffic from the normal user. Yeah, and it's nice to use user agent like QA Vitest test or QA Playwright test in the config file, for example. And now, if someone asks us, Arek, I see that we have a lot of 400s HTTP error codes, yeah? And I think it's from the tests, yeah? And I can say, okay, but what is a user agent? Oh, user agent is Mozilla / something. Okay, it's not our test, of course, because our tests are user agent very specific and not the default one. And in the tools like Kibana or Datadog, we can analyze our traffic, and we can see that, for example, we can build some dashboard, and we can show only just traffic from the tests. Yeah, and it's nice in big organization, of course. And the second tip is use sharding in your tests, and it's possible in Playwright and Vitest, of course, because when you have a lot of tests, thousands, hundreds, yeah, it's not only the thing that we should run in parallel, but in different machines, yeah, because when we run 1,000 tests on the one machine, but for example in parallel, of course, but it still lasts some time, yeah. But when we divide our tests into 3, 4 machines, we can use this flag shard. We can run the test for example, on the top screen we have 2 matrix. We have 2 machines, one and the first one and the second, and our tests are running. The half of the tests are running on the first machines, and the other ones are running on the second one. Yeah, and the same situation is in Vitest, for example, and it's very common practice for now. And tip number 3, it's to build atomic independent tests, because when we, for example, 2 months ago, I changed my company, and first of all, I spotted that we have one spec that there is, I think, 500 or 600 lines of code, and we have 11 tests in one spec file, and it lasts 10 minutes, and the tests are, running in serial because it depends on the previous ones. And yeah, it's a bad practice, and I agree with that we should build our atomic test, because when, for example, something is failing, our test is failing, and we have a lot of tests in one spec, we don't know what's going on. But when we have just small tests and something of it, it's failed, we know that, okay, just that specific test, that specific path is not running, it's not passing for now, yeah? And it's very crucial. And which framework is the most popular one in the world? How can we measure it? Of course, yeah. There is a State of JS survey, because we are talking about JS, mostly JS tests, TypeScript environment, and this is a survey which developers, testers from all around the world are filling it with the information, like, for example, what is the most interesting tool for them to use it, for example, in next year. And as you can see, the Vitest and Playwright are on the top. Yeah? The Vitest is the first one. It's from 2021. It's still the most interesting tool for the developers, testers all around the world. And Playwright from 2022 as well. And if we are thinking about positively, approach from developers, testers, it's the same situation. Vitest and Playwright are at the top. And as you can see, we have different tools like Cypress, Storybook, Mocha, Jest, and so on. And for example, Selenium was in 2023 was on the 3rd place, but in 2024 is on the 9th place. Yeah, so Selenium is still alive, but if we think about positivity to the tool, it's not the best one for now for the developer. And NPM trends, it's very nice graph, because in 2023 I had a presentation about if Playwright will be a killer for Cypress in 2023, and I said that it's not true. It not will be in the 2023, but I said that maybe in the future, and maybe 1 year, 2 years, it will be more popular than Cypress. And as you can see, in 2023, Playwright was tool like, I don't know, it was less than 1 million download from NPM. But in 2024, there is the line, it's going up, it's increasing. And for now, we have very big, we have the lines that you can see, we have some jumps. And at the top, there is information that Playwright support Playwright MCP server, yeah? And it's starting to growing up very, very fast. But Cypress is still the vertical line. And yeah, it doesn't mean that the Cypress is dead. It's still a lot of projects in that tool. And in the lower level, for example, for unit or integration tests, we have Jest, which is the most popular one, and it's still, as you can see, growing. But Vitest is the runner-up, and it's also in the place that, for example, I think when Playwright was in 2023, is starting more popular day by day. But I think in 2-3 years it would be the tool that is on the top. Yeah. And conclusions about this presentation. And I would like to say 3 conclusions for you. And technology and tools are changing. Yeah. When we are in the IT, we know that, for example, 10 years ago we are using Selenium, yeah, or Cypress or something like that. But it was the best tools for that time, yeah, of course. But for now, almost if you have a greenfield project, I don't know anyone who would like to use Selenium and Cypress like a project that we have the power to decide the testing framework. And it's normal because in the testing environment, in IT, everything is changing very, very fast. Second conclusion is this division between assertion library, test runner, all-in-one frameworks. And as I said, we have Chai as an assertion library, test runner, which are necessary to run our test, like Mocha, and all-in-one frameworks, which are other ones, yeah, and we know about it. And the third conclusion is that front-end tests are not the same to back-end tests. And I think you know this meme, and it's very, very true. And for my last interview, someone asked me that do you have testing pyramid in your project, in your current company? And I said, but where? And it was the, 10 seconds of silence. But why, where, when, where? And because on the front-end part, it's totally different back-end side, yeah? And it was nice to talk about on the interview when we start to talk about front-end, back-end testing, yeah? And the recruiter said, okay, it's nice if you know about it, yeah, and you can sell this information to other ones. And what is the biggest challenge in IT? There is a group like No Fluff Jobs on Facebook, and there are some information, and there are some comments. What is the biggest challenge in IT? First of all, is to not getting fat. The second one is working in IT for 20 years and still have fun. And the last one is to fight against hunger until before the lunch and after lunch with sleepiness. Yeah, and this is what I wish you, that it's only problems in your projects. Thank you so much. And if you have any questions, we can start. There is a question.
Thank you so much. My name is Aurora, and I wanted to ask about the interest survey, and I wanted to ask what was the research sample for that?
Research sample? It was more than 40,000 people, and this survey is from United States, and this State of JS survey is, I think, one of the most popular one in IT, and it's always at the beginning of the year, for the last year, yeah, and this survey is from 2024, for example, and yeah, it's the newest one, and I think it was 45,000 people, and so yeah, it's a very big number of developers, but in IT, it's in Poland, I think we have 500,000 people in IT, or 700,000, so maybe not the biggest example, but yeah. I think we can base on it.
Who would like to go next? Oh,
Yes,
I see.
Hello, hi. Thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask, what do you think about job opportunities which are looking for people who knew Playwright for 6 to 8 years?
Is the opportunity to what?
To work.
To work with Playwright?
Yes.
But do you have some experience with Playwright?
A little bit, but currently I'm looking for a job, and I can see the offers where they looking for people which have the 6 to 9 year of experience.
With Playwright?
Yeah, exactly.
Playwright is 5, so...
Yeah. So what we can say to them? Okay.
You can, I can send you the presentation, and you can send them and say, okay, it's not true because it's, I know, it's overtime, of course. Yeah. Okay. There is a joke that I have 20 years of experience in such tool, but this tool is 5 years only. Well, yeah, overtime, yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. So if you'd like to start with Playwright, for example, it's nice because this tool is covered by ChatGPT, and there is a lot of examples when you would like to ask an LLMs like Claude, Chat, etc. And we are living in AI generation, I think, And for now, if you would like to learn something, it's very, very easy because you have somebody like our LLM, and we can ask him when we have any problems. We are very often we work in the environment that there are some developers. We can ask them as well, and every step by step we can get this knowledge. And everyone started in any time. Yeah. For example, I started my career over 8 years ago, and I was just a manual tester. And yeah, I started with Cypress in 7 years ago. It was the most popular tool to automate some front-end parts. And yeah, growing up, and for now it's a Playwright. But in the next 5 years, it would be, I think, the other tool. Yeah, maybe AI tool.
Any more questions?
Hi, thank you for presentation. I have a question about the Vitest, because you many times say to player compare it that this is the same, yes? And what is the difference? This is the first question. And second one that follow that, if you have a big project, enterprise, let's say level, what do you choose, Playwright or Vitest?
Playwright or what?
Or Vitest.
Vitest? Uh-huh. Yeah, I focused on the similarities, yeah, because these two tools are not using that we, for example, use one tool or other tool, or the other tool, yeah, because in Playwright we can cover the end-to-end testing, yeah. In Vitest we cannot, of course, but when you are integration tests, we can cover by Playwright, of course. We can do some API requests or mock the backend side and do some tests only for frontend. But in the Vitest, we can do the same. We can do some components testing or API testing. But when you're going down, I know that we don't go down very, very often. Yeah, unit tests are for the developers, yeah, mostly. But when we have to do some code review, we'd like something like that. It's nice to know that we can use, for example, tool like Vitest or Jest to something like that. Yeah, and it's different types of levels. And if you have a big company, as you said, it's not that you have to choose Playwright or Vitest. You can use Playwright and Vitest, and you can cover all of the testing pyramids. And it was the key part of this presentation to understand that using these two tools, maybe I will show this testing pyramid slide. Yeah, using these two tools, we can cover all of the testing levels and more. For example, we can cover as well the visual regression testing, which are very, very popular for now. Yeah, to compare the screenshots. Yeah, we have the base screenshot, and every single time when we're running our tests, we compare the next screenshot to the based one. Yeah. And we can do it as well in Playwright. So this is the banger connection, yeah, when we use both of them. But we have to get some power to decide in a project. Yeah, when you are in the project that it's the other tools, I know we have to do what we should, yeah, in that company.
Thank you so much. That was really inspiring. We have a special prize for you.
Thank you very much.